All right, so I got another patron request here from someone who does not want to be named. So, The Last Days, this is a film I'd never even heard of. And it is free on Plex, which I do not recommend because Plex sucks for free films. Plex is great for your friends sharing their libraries with one another. My buddy Brandon shares his with me, and it's how I watch like 65-70% of what I watch for the channel. So thank God for him and his collection because there is so much I get from him. So Plex is wonderful for that. But if something is free on Plex, like, actually on the service of Plex, there is an ad every 5 minutes that lasts 3 minutes. No exaggeration. It's absurd. So this took way longer to watch than it should have. Now, I did watch this like a week ago. I've been trying to get to this review, but we went on vacation and whatever, excuses, excuses. All right. So, for those of you who haven't seen this, I am going to talk spoilers here in a minute. But I definitely do recommend this. I think this is a very cool apocalyptic type of movie that had a unique spin on it. Essentially, what's happening in this film is people are coming down with an illness known as the panic. And essentially, what happens is people walk outside and they die. Like, not instantaneously, but not far off either. So you have like a little window of time where you can walk outside, and if you can get back inside fast enough, you seem to not fall victim to the illness, whatever the hell it is. And that was a cool part of the movie, is that they keep this shrouded in some uncertainty and darkness, which is good because I feel like you're put into the shoes of the people within the film, right? Kind of reminds of us of like COVID days when we were all just kind of wondering what the hell this thing is, how bad is this thing, and then as the events unfolded, we got a better sense of what it is, and now we're like 5-6 years post pandemic here, and we have a much better idea and grasp on what it is. And COVID obviously hasn't went anywhere. It's an endemic now, and is going to be around for good. But regardless, this is what's cool about this, is that us as the viewers and the characters within the film are just as in the dark about what the hell this thing is. They leave it to a lot of ambiguity to it, which I liked, and it remains mostly throughout as well. So we are dealing with our main character, Mark. He has a girlfriend who's at home, wife, girlfriend. I can't remember. I think they're boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't think they're married yet. Whatever. Julia. He goes to work. He works for this software company or something, and they're pushing him. There's a deadline, and he has to get this thing done. And so he goes in, and the reports come more and more that people can't go outside. They witness this happen, and so then he kind of gets stuck at work, and he's trying to figure out a way to get to her, but unfortunately, you can't go outside, right? So you have to figure out a way to not go outside. As long as you stay indoors in any sense, as long as you're not outside in the fresh air, you seem to be fine. So tunnels, whatever, you'll be all right. Although they never explored cars in this. I don't know if cars would work, but no one drives any cars in this. I thought maybe if you got into a car and drove it around outside, wouldn't you be protected? I don't know. So that one didn't get addressed. But regardless, uh, you can't go outside. Essentially, if you go outside, you die, which was unique. I thought that was a cool spin on it. So let's get into the movie. Spoilers from here on. It is a Spanish film, if memory serves. It's definitely not in English. Spanish, I think, is what it is, and subtitles. So if you're somebody who doesn't like subtitles, too bad. All right. Yeah, so we start off with Mark. Enrique is the like HR person who's sent in to push them harder and to potentially fire them if they're not getting their deadline done in time. And man, I'm reminded all the time of how many companies do this shit where they push a product to hit a deadline, and then that deadline, you know, gets met, but with a product that is broken. This cripples companies. This cripples products, right? Like they pushed out uh, tons of video games. Famously, Cyberpunk got pushed out too quickly, and it really ruined the reputation and the sales of that game. And even though later on they released a patch that's supposedly fixed all of the problems, the damage was like very much already done. And I have yet to play the game because I'd heard so many negative things about the bugs and everything when it launched. And I do intend to play the game, but I've heard now it's incredible. Now it's the game it was always meant to be. But, you know, no one played it because of how buggy it was and how broken it was when it came out. So you've got to make sure, as much as we, the consumer and the audience, wants these products, and we're like demanding of them being timely and whatnot, and especially with movies, as us film fanatics can be, we can be like, oh, they pushed this movie again, right? Like Batman Part Two, the Robert Pattinson Batman, that keeps getting pushed every fucking time I open my phone. It seems to get pushed another year. It's all the way out into like 2027 now. I'm so annoyed by that. But at the same time, it's like you don't want a rushed product, right? Like you kind of want the best of both worlds. You want it to come out quick and you want it to be great. But unfortunately, uh, things take time. Good things take time. If you want something rushed, you're going to get a rushed product. So you got to have patience. And this was really reminding me of that when he's in that disagreement on like, dude, you got to finish this, and we'll find another guy. We'll fire you. We'll find some other person to come in and complete this, because to the executives, to the producers, to the money people, this is not art, right? They don't give a shit about that end of things. They don't care about it. To them, it's a product. It is to be sold. They do not care. Now, should they? Yes, of course, but should they also, for the product itself to be good, and they want to have their cake and eat it too, right? Obviously, they want to get out the best product for people. They honestly don't give a shit about people, but what I'm saying is, like, so that people can have the best product, and can they can sell more and more because everybody's loving the thing and whatever. But God, this pisses me off. This pisses me off that anyone would rush something and put it out uh, in like an inferior product, as opposed to taking the time. Anyway, so that was that. And I do think there's a lot of metaphors within the film, right? A lot of it, it's like generational, because at the end of this film, spoilers, obviously, I already mentioned this, the kids are immune, and the kids have to go brave the unknown world by themselves, like we do with our children, right? Like we raise them the best we can, and at some point we have to release them into the wild, so to speak, to fend for themselves. And we hope that we've given them enough tools to be able to be successful out there in an unknown world. And I feel like there is a lot of that in this movie. I feel like there is a lot of like symbolisms and metaphors for um, for work life balance, um, worrying about the future. That's another huge part of this, right? Mark is terrified of the world that's out there. And then, of course, the world even gets more dire after that. And Julia ends up being pregnant. And it's like, why would I want to bring a life into this chaotic world where they're just going to have nothing but misery. Us as parents, me being a parent, I feel this all the time. I feel, I felt this before I had kids. Like, do I really want to bring a kid into this world? And it's like, yes, at the end of the day, for me, yes, because regardless of where we're at as a society, where we're at as humans, I do still think that existing is better than never having existed, right? It is very special to have ever gotten to exist because so many factors are at play for you to even have the honor of even being here. No matter how bummed out you are, no matter how stupid you think everything is, no matter how nihilistic people become, I really do think it is very, very special that you get to exist. I don't think people really comprehend the the gravity of that. Like how many things had to work for you to exist. It's pretty incredible. It's a miracle. Um, so anyway, I don't know. I got a lot of that out of this film, and that's what I really liked about it. I really liked the messages that I took from it. Whether those are intentional or not doesn't really matter, right? With art, like art is for interpretation, and even if an artist doesn't intend for those things to have uh, been taken from their project, uh, it still has merit to find that within it, right? It's still it's still beneficial as the viewer to get these different kinds of interpretations, and as long as it works for you, it doesn't really matter, right? So it was invoking some really heavy themes in me that I was reflecting on a lot of my life, and I was connecting with some of that stuff. So I think that it's because the movie is very human, right? It feels very very human at its core, which I think a lot of great films do, especially survival movies, right? Because people and all life, we're on a never-ending quest of survival. Right? Our evolution and everything is all about survival. And when something like this, something new is introduced, you have to figure out new ways to survive. We've been surviving one way for a long time, and then a new problem arises, and you've got to find out a new way to survive. You have to figure it out, and it's kind of trial and error. And some people die, some people don't. Such is life. Um, so the main dude in this, or not, I'm sorry, not the main dude. One of the guys, he's not in it for very long, but I recognized him instantly. He's one of the guys that Mark works with. He's the guy from the platform. And then another girl in this movie. It's not the main girl. It's not Julia, but it's Julia's sister or best friend. She's the main chick from Rec 3, the the franchise, the found footage. It's found footage for the first two, but then the third and fourth ditch the found footage. But she's the bride in Rec 3. There also is no uh, effect to animals, it seems. So the animals are unaffected, which probably helps them out tremendously for humans to go away, since we seem to destroy their habitat on a daily basis, and this is probably a godsend for the animals because they get to take over. They do have a man versus nature moment where Mark and Enrique fight off a bear. That was a good scene. I think that this has some really good production value to it. You can tell it's low budget, but man, this has a lot of sets. Um, Kaylee, come on by. You're okay. Kaylee's off getting ready. She's in the background, so she doesn't have to tiptoe around. She's as much of a part of this channel as I am. I do like that they like guns being shot in an enclosed location, like a tunnel, has such a damaging effect on their ears. This is something that I'm always harping on. I know some films just don't want to deal with it. Guys are firing guns endlessly and then they're like whispering to each other 2 seconds later, and I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fantasy, right? But with this one, it is extremely prevalent how intense the damage is to the ears every time they fire this gun. One of them starts bleeding from the ears. They take turns firing so the other one can like cover their ears. I loved that someone actually addressed how insanely loud gunshots are, especially in like echo chambers like that. That would just makes it even louder. Um, so yeah, really cool there. Dig that stuff. Um, we have, sorry, it's been a while. I'm looking through my notes. Um, okay, another like little pro tip here. If your partner wants kids and you don't want kids, then you're not a match. End of discussion. Full stop, done. Right? So it's so annoying to see a character who didn't want kids leading on his partner who very much from the beginning said they wanted kids, and then dragging it out and wasting their time and then getting them to a place, eventually you're going to age out of being able to have kids. It's just how it works. You could adopt or whatever, but some people really want to have their own kids, and they were led uh, they were misled, uh, under false pretenses that this person was wanting to have kids with them, and that shit pisses me off. I actually used to work with a girl who was with a guy who led her on for years and years and years and years, and he kept making up every excuse, and then finally, when she got to an age where it was like, she was getting too old to have kids, he just leveled with her and was like, I never wanted to have kids. I was just lying to you the whole time. I mean, and I don't even mean to laugh there. It's so horrible. I don't know what else to do, but I'll never forget that. It's funny too, because I did not like that girl. Her and I butted heads like crazy at the salon, but I felt horrible for her. I thought that was like the dickish move of all dickish moves that you could ever do. So definitely is a bit of a sore spot for me, to do that to somebody. What sucks is, what's kind of funny about it is that she sucked with me and everyone around me. Honestly, I thought she was a pretty lame person, but she was always amazing with kids. And it always kind of struck me like, I feel like the reason she's like this is because she got so screwed over. She hates everyone, but she loved kids. Every time kids came in, she became a completely different person, and it made me feel even more sorry for her. So awful to do to somebody. So yeah, Mark and Enrique set off, making their way through tunnels. Enrique's father is in the hospital. They eventually find it's burned down, which makes him want to quit. He eventually comes back and saves Mark's life in a final stand, and ends up dying from it. But a good you know connection. I felt like their chemistry together was really solid. I really liked their performances and them together. They felt like an unlikely duo that kind of just made it work because and there was always like a distrust between them because you never knew what anyone's intentions were. Like Enrique always made it seem like he was gonna bail out and take Mark's stuff because Mark had acquired like a flashlight and a GPS and these very necessary things to try to get through the tunnels without being able to look up into the world, right? Because you can't go up top without dying, so you have to rely on these things, and you only have so many batteries. And resources, of course, in apocalyptic movies is always the most important thing, and so they have to come together because Enrique can help him and Mark can give him the tools to help each other, and they have to work together. But it's always like, where do your allegiances actually lie? And I felt there was good tension there. I always was wondering like who was going to bail and who wasn't. When Mark would wake up and Enrique was missing or something, you'd be like, shit, he did ditch him. And then he'd show back up and you'd be like, okay, maybe not. And I always felt that throughout the movie. So that was a good part of the film as well. Um, And there's a scene when someone has a chance to go outside, and it's like they're so afraid of what's out there that they just kind of stand there and die. That was brutal because it's like you're dead either way. I really kind of took the illness as mass panic, right? Like we have instances of this phenomenon, right? Which is super fascinating. That famous one of the gas leak in the school, and all the kids were uh, feeling these symptoms, and they checked, and there was nothing, and they all had the same symptoms and whatever, and then they went away once they left the school, and then they checked, there was no gas leak, there was nothing wrong, they couldn't find anything going on in the school, and then as soon as everyone came back into the school, they all fell very ill again with the same exact symptoms and everything. This kind of phenomenon is fascinating, and to think it could be done on a global scale, where people um, find out that if you go outside you die, and they believe it so much, and everybody believes it so much that they make it real. That's a fascinating idea, and I think that even though it's unsaid in this movie, if that's actually what's happened here, and I don't know how much it's hinted at, that's kind of what I filled in the blanks with. Which I yeah, I find that to be a cool explanation for the film. I like that idea um, of uh, mass panic. Is that what I'm thinking of? Or mass hysteria. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of panic because the disease is called the panic. Yeah, yeah, mass hysteria. Yeah, I like that is what I guessed while watching this film, is that everyone's just having a bout of mass hysteria, and they're just dying from going outside. But the kids are, because I can't think of any reason why this would be happening, because it doesn't seem to matter if you go outside during the day or the night, right? So it's not the sunshine. It can't be the air, because the air is the same inside as it is outside, right? Like, what could it be? What could it possibly be that's outside that's not inside? I have no idea. Like, so mass hysteria is really the only thing I can come up with, and the fact that the kids are immune to it, I am like, they're not part of the hysteria. They weren't raised in that society, and they're raised in a society. They're told that the outside's bad, but they find out about it when they're babies. The baby seems to be fine. He walks outside, and he's okay, and it's like they figure out that way before the baby can even. So the baby's told, you're fine outside, right? And they're raised to think they're good outside. So that's why they are good outside. I'm going with mass hysteria. I think that's what this is. Um, and once again, the production value, the buildings outside, the buildings inside. They had a lot. They had like subway tunnels. They had a bunch of different buildings inside and outside. They all looked degraded and like post-apocalyptic. So there was a lot of production value on display here for what seemingly is a lower budgeted film. So pretty good. At the end here, I'm not really honestly sure how Mark and Julia see each other, but it's just one of those movie magic type of things. And then, yeah, he crosses the street, and this is his big brave moment. Can he make it? Can he make it? Yes, he can. And they have their baby together, and they have to stay indoors. I thought maybe he was gonna realize, like, we're fine. Like, he was gonna get halfway through and be like, I'm okay. But no, he gets across, and they stay indoors for seemingly for the rest of their lives. But their kids are immune, and their kids go off and brave the dangers of the unknown without them, and they set them off. I don't really exactly know why they have to leave. Maybe they're foraging for food or whatever, but they had a garden that they were growing food in. They seemed to be fine. They raised them till, and he also left very young. They look like they were like 12 or 13 or something. So you would think they'd wait a little longer, but regardless, I didn't. They seemed like they were saying goodbye to him forever. That's what didn't make sense to me. they didn't address that at all. It looked like it was like, okay, goodbye. Like, we're never gonna see you again, or maybe we're not gonna see you for a long time if you ever come back. And that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's like, you can go out with your friends and hunt and have fun and have a life, but you also come home. It's your home. Like, why wouldn't you? So the ending didn't really make a lot of sense to me. As I said, it's more metaphorical of like sending your kids out. It's time to like go off to college or whatever. So anyway, cool movie. Um, once again, the I dug plenty of things about it. I don't really have many downsides to it, so it was fun to interpret, and I appreciate the recommendation. I do love post-apocalyptic movies, especially like Where Did Everyone Go type of movies. That's my favorite. This isn't that exactly, but it is unique. It's a very unique a post-apocalyptic film. So I appreciate the recommendation. And once again, the reason that this person is getting this review for any of my other patrons or people who want to become a patron is because they're paying me a very high premium to get these reviews individually. So yeah, if you also want patron requested videos and I don't know, I don't want to pimp myself out like that to people to make it seem like all I want is your money. I'm just saying, for a price, I think everybody has a price, right? I was like, yeah, sure, because we need the money. It's hard times for everybody. Anyway, so thank you. We're half to a movie right now, and we will see you in the comments, or I will, since I'm the only one that reads the comments, and I'm the only one in this video. All right, guys. See you in the comments. Adios. Bye.